Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening for the part one of our two-part panel series on college readiness. During this first part, we are joined by representatives from several universities that will be talking about the college readiness process and college life. My name is Stacy Shapiro, and I'm the Youth Engagement Specialist at the Summer Youth Employment Program at United Activities Unlimited. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I'd like to give all of our panelists a chance to introduce yourselves and say where you're from and your position and your role. And just starting from the order you appear on my screen, we'll start with Joyce.
Good afternoon. My name is Joyce Adorno. I'm an admissions advisor at the College of Staten Island. The College of Staten Island is a comprehensive liberal arts college that offers associate's, bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Anika Dorsey-Good at St. John's. I'm the Assistant Director of Admission as well as overseeing our diversity recruitment. I represent both campuses, both here in Staten Island as well as Queens.
Hey everyone, my name is Alexander Ma, and I'm an admissions counselor at Binghamton University. I am regionally based in New York City, so I live not too far away from you, across the river in Brooklyn. I'm representing Binghamton, which is, I believe, the only school outside New York City. So yeah, I'll be glad to answer any of the questions you might have for me.
Hi, everyone. I'm Chastity from City Tech. I am an admissions counselor. So I help people with their applications, really the whole onboarding process from recruitment to events like this and tours. And yes, we are working on virtual tours, information sessions, all that good stuff. And to the onboarding process, the applications processing, and then I do advisement as well. So glad to be here and answer any questions you might have.
Great, thank you again to all of our panelists for joining us and to all of our participants that are here today. If you have any questions at all during the panel, please do feel free to share them in the chat, or if you feel comfortable, you can definitely also come off mute. I know I have my own set of prepared questions that I'll ask the panelists, but of course, if any questions do come to mind, you can definitely feel free to share them. And I want to start off with one question that I know I had when I was going into college, and it's about freshman orientation. I know that's a big deal. That's a big part of entering college for the first time. It's part of the matriculation process, learning about the different opportunities and resources offered at each university. So I'd love for each of our representatives to share a little bit about what orientation is like at your university and or your campus. And we'll start with Chastity.
Okay, so hi, I'm from City Tech, more formally known as New York City College of Technology. And what we have for our freshman orientation is, at the moment, it's virtual. We're going to hold on to that because we actually find that it's very useful to have an online version. But when we return fully to campus, it's going to be in person as well. So what happens is, once the students have been fully onboarded, meaning you have already been accepted, you've received an email saying, hey, time to register for classes, and you've done that, there is in that space in between, either right before you are invited to register for classes or around that same time, you will receive an email that says, we would love for you to get familiar with the campus. Here is a link to a recorded session or orientation. And when you go to this link, this orientation, it's pretty much blurbs from different areas. So you're going to see documents from different areas. You're going to see videos from different areas where they're explaining who they are and what they do and different supports and resources available to the students. And also just kind of giving you a feel for the campus without necessarily being there in person, just to kind of start that connection, building that bridge between you and the campus and the faculty and staff and your other, I was about to say team members, because we're always saying team members, but it's kind of like that. Your classmates are your team members. And when it was in person, you would be accepted, and then when you would come to campus, we would invite you to campus, and on those particular days, we would give you a tour. We would fast track you for advisement and for receiving your school ID. So you would come in. You could bring your parents if you want. If your parents come, I take them on a tour while you guys go off and register for classes and get your IDs, and then I can take you all on a tour together. So our freshman orientation is more not necessarily just even in person. Hey, I want to take you here and point this out and point that out. We're just trying to get you not just acclimated, but we want you to start feeling connected to the school. So that's what it is in person, and that's what it is like online. And once we get back to being fully in person, we're going to expand on that in-person experience, but we're going to maintain that online because not everyone can get to campus, and maybe you're going to decide to continue with online learning. So we want to give you the opportunity to have an orientation as well.
Great, thank you. And on that point, with online learning, like I know that that's probably going to continue. That's going to be an option for most universities. But is that something that universities are like well, I should say for City Tech specifically, like thinking of expanding into the future, so continuing to offer online courses for those students who are interested in them?
Yes. As a matter of fact, this was honestly, not to toot my own horn here, but I'm going to do it. Um, before all of this, I was saying we need more online options because space is always an issue. When the college wants to expand, you need more classroom space, right? And we didn't have that because we're downtown Brooklyn. So real estate's at a premium. And I'd be like, well, online classes, people have different schedules, we need more online classes. And then the pandemic happened and we were kind of forced to do that. So in a way it was kind of a good thing. For some people, online isn't really their thing, but for other people, they were so happy to finally have some options, some additional options other than the very few that we had. So in the expansion of our online offerings, we've seen that especially for certain types of courses, this can really work. And we've actually started developing more options that are going to be available to continue to be available, even when we return to in campus or being on campus. And we actually have one of our majors that has transitioned to a fully online degree already. That one is the Health Services Administration major. That one has already transitioned to being fully online. We're looking at options now, not just of offering more online courses, but of seeing which degrees can actually either be transitioned so that a student can earn their degree in that area online, or may even become a fully online degree. So it's kind of opened some doors as far as administrative ideas and perspectives where they were before, and shown that yes, this is something that our students could use and they want, and we're going to continue offering them even when we return to the in-person teaching model.
And I want to also give a chance to Joyce. I know like CSI, you are both, and City Tech, you're both part of the CUNY system. If you want us, if there's any differences, I know, I mean, you were talking earlier about how things are going to be virtual for the time being. How is orientation looking at CSI?
Yeah, so right now the orientation is mainly going to be virtual as well. One good thing about the student orientation, it kind of gives students information and resources about the college, information and resource about completing the requirements for graduation. So the new student orientation really helps students to understand more about the college, what the college has to offer. I'm sure they're going to talk about the synchronous or asynchronous classes that are online or in person. We have, I think it's going to be 60% online and 40% in person. The most of the in-person classes are going to be ones that require a lab or performing arts or creative arts. And also it's going to depend, I think, also about who's vaccinated, because Governor Cuomo had instituted that he wanted everybody vaccinated, but people are fighting back. They feel it's illegal because it's only emergency approved. So there's a lot of controversy about that as well. But the new student orientation, as far as I know, is going to be virtual again this fall.
Yeah, that makes sense. But hopefully, like Chastity was saying, once things start opening up, And maybe like in the spring semester, hopefully maybe next fall, we'll see that change. What about St. John's, Anika? How is orientation shaping up to be there?
So we are offering in-person orientation across all boards. So with our Staten Island and Queens students, will be participating in in-person orientation. We also have a parent orientation component as well. So both the student and the parent will have the opportunity to get acclimated with St. John's. I would say touch up any finishing touches on your class schedule. If you're going to be living on campus, getting acclimated with your residence hall and things of that nature as well. And that's pretty much how we're dealing with orientation at St. John's.
Alex, what about Binghamton?
Yeah, so traditionally orientation is in person. So for a handful of students at least, that would be the only opportunity or the first opportunity for Student City campus. Though we usually recommend if you're applying for any college, whether it's locally or at state or outside New York City, you should definitely visit and try to get a feel of the campus, see if you can imagine yourself there. Similar to my colleagues, is that this is the best time that you get acclimated with the campus, learn about different services, and it is also one of the best opportunities to start making new friends at the school you'll be at for the next 2 to 4 years.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's something that a lot of high school seniors have sort of struggled with this year, with like the ability to travel to actually go in person to these schools that they're investing the next 4 years of their lives for. So I think that it is important to like get that first look, even if it is at orientation, or even just like Chastity was saying, like finding a way to do like virtual tours or finding a way like another alternative to let interested students see what your university is all about. Yeah, thank you. That makes a lot of sense, of course. I know I kind of want to bring back, I know Chastity was mentioning before about like registering for class. That's something you do prior to orientation. So I'd like to hear a little bit about how that works at all of your universities. I know our students, our youth out there, that's something that they'll definitely be interested in learning about. So how does that work at Binghamton?
Yeah, so at least with the process of onboarding first year students is that you first will actually sign for housing. So indicate you want to live on Binghamton's campus. So you fill out kind of like this questionnaire explaining who you are as a person, kind of your personality traits. You know, am I a night or day person, clean or messy? Do I like having people around or don't want to study alone? And if you don't have any other friends that you want to room with at Binghamton, they'll try to match you with someone else. You also have the opportunity to choose your dorming style too, so the room you want to live in, and then you sign for orientation. And then the last thing you do is schedule an appointment to meet with your academic advisor. Prior to meeting with your academic advisor, you'll fill a form 2 indicating any type of college credit you might have earned while in high school. That might translate to AP exams, IB scores, also College Now, and then you will meet with your academic advisor, and then they'll build your schedule from there. I imagine for most of the students that are coming to Binghamton for their first semester, first year, they take what's known as general education requirements. And these are your liberal arts and science classes, so English, math, science, history, art, a number of different courses. So mostly general education requirements. If you are coming for a specific major, you'll have a couple major requirements too.
Great. And like how far in advance I should say, the start of classes or the start of semester does enrollment and registration begin, and how long does it last?
Yeah. So as soon as you confirm, well, at least with Binghamton, as soon as you confirm your enrollment at Binghamton, they're going to come here. You can fill out your housing application, and they sign for orientation. And I believe advising starts like maybe in the next couple of weeks when you meet with your academic advisor. One pro tip for you students: if you do miss your academic advisement appointment, they'll assign random classes to you, which you do not want to happen. Before I went to college, I missed that call because we didn't have Zoom back then, and I had 7:30 biology class, which is not recommended and not fun. So definitely don't miss that call with your academic advisor.
Noted. Thanks for that very wise and useful advice. What about at St. John's and Anika? How does registration and enrollment work?
Okay, so at St. John's, we create all of our first semester freshman schedule. So students are not tasked with creating their schedule their first semester. At St. John's, we do allow students to apply directly into their anticipated major. And as long as a student meets that criteria, you will be awarded that major of choice. And then pretty much on our Staten Island campus, our deans will directly program all of our incoming freshmen. On our Queens campus, we are dealing with a larger volume of students and applicants matriculating. So we do have a department, which is our University Freshman Center, that is tasked with ensuring that all of our first year students are programmed. Similar to Alex, like he mentioned, we do accept AP exams, IB credits, as well as any College Now courses, whether you've completed that with St. John's or any other university or college within the US. And that's pretty much the way it works. Of course, if you're not satisfied with your schedule, we always encourage students to kind of advocate for themselves quite early on. Don't wait until like the last day of ad drop to decide you want to change a major or change your coursework. But yeah, it's a pretty seamless process, I would say, altogether. On our Queens campus, our students will know who their academic advisor is, and you can kind of be in direct communication with them moving forward once your schedule is created to make any adjustments.
Joyce, what about CSI? How does the registration and enrollment?
So right now they're doing, it's called a virtual CART session. And it's considered virtual CSI advisement registration and training. We have a flexible schedule, so we have classes from 8 in the morning till 8 at night, and we have classes 7 days a week. So students can choose the times of day and the days of the week that they want to go to class. So they're not, they don't assign them a certain time of day. They can be flexible to pick when they want to go to class. Of course, the earlier you do your registration and training, the better times of day in the classes you will get, because the most popular classes are usually between 10 and 3. Most students don't like early morning or evening classes. So the earlier you get to do this, the better. So once you've been accepted to the college and you accept our offer and claim your CUNY First account, they will receive an email to do this virtual session. They have to do a Blackboard account and fill out some paperwork online. And then they will meet with an academic advisor and tell them what their intended major is. You don't have to have an intended major. You could be undecided. First year and a half of college are your general education courses. So everyone pretty much has to take English, math, history, science, foreign language. Once you have 45 credits, so they must declare a major. And some of the majors, you can't go directly into them. You have to establish a GPA at the college before you can get into certain majors like nursing and business and some, medical courses in biology, psychology, social work. Any of those majors usually require some type of GPA and prerequisites first. And if any students are accepted into our associate degree, after one semester, they can transition into the baccalaureate degree as long as they have 12 credits, a 2.0 GPA. So it's an easy transition for students. Hope that answers the question.
Oh, yes, it does. Thank you. Chastity, what about City Tech? Are there any differences from what Joyce mentioned that are specific to City Tech?
It's interesting because I think we have like a combination of St. John's and CSI, kind of what's going on there. So we have our system is kind of slightly different for transfers and for freshmen. So if you are coming first, you get your acceptance letter, congratulations, welcome to City Tech, and then if you have any transfer credits from College Now, whichever, or we went to a different school, those are evaluated, and then you receive another email saying, hey, please select a time that works for you for meeting with an advisor for registration. Now, if you are a freshman, everyone is sent this survey. So you're sent this survey, and the survey asks you, do you prefer day or evening? Are there specific times that you can't be in class? Are you are you better with math or this or what have you? Like pretty much a bunch of preference questions. Are you sure about what your major is? Because sometimes people are a little confused. They think they're in this, they think, oh, I'm in business, but okay, we don't really have a business major. So you must mean marketing, management, and sales. You must mean this, you must mean that. So, or do you want to change? Because sometimes they do want to change their major. So this survey is sent out. And then based on these responses, our advisors create the first semester schedule for the freshmen. And then they would contact us if they need to change something. So when they see that email that says, hey, select a day and time to meet with an advisor, they're meeting with an advisor because they need to change something on that schedule that was already created for them. And instead of them asking permission to do it themselves, they would rather meet with an advisor. So once that's done, then then they're good to go. But if they do want to meet with someone, then they have the option of a correspondence like, hey, I want to change this myself, because we put an advisement hold on them to prevent them from registering themselves, because sometimes students can really make mistakes with that. And if they're getting financial aid, it can be a really bad mistake, a mistake that can cost them their financial aid award. It can cost them time. So we try and prevent that by putting that advisement hold on them until we can actually speak with them. So if everything is fine, they're good to go, then they're already set for that next semester. If not, they can correspond with us and say, I'd like to change this. As long as they understand what they need to do, then we will remove the advisement hold and let them do it on their own. If they prefer to meet with someone, then they'll schedule that appointment, and then things will be changed at that time. For the transfers, we generally meet with them and say, hey, let's do this advisement. We talk with them. If we feel as though, okay, they understand enough to go ahead and do it themselves, we'll remove the hold and they can register themselves, or we'll assist them with registration, because honestly, transfers, they have a little bit more of an idea of what college is requiring of them, and they're pretty much good to go. So that's with that process. If they want to change their major or admission into majors, like Joyce said, we do have certain majors that are dual admission programs. So you're not accepted directly into that program, you're accepted to the college, and then you complete your prerequisites, and then that program reviews you and they decide who they're going to accept. And those are specifically radiology, dental hygiene, and nursing. If they don't accept, we do not have waiting lists. You didn't get in, pick a different major or try again. And usually people do try 2 or 3 times before they're like, okay, let me try something else. And there are a couple of other majors, more specifically the bachelor's majors, that require a certain GPA to get in. Like overall, you need a 75 to get into a bachelor's program. Otherwise, we consider you for one of our associate programs. Or it could be that you need a certain set of prerequisites to begin those particular courses, so that program might require permission from the department. So there are a few programs where, and those are usually the bachelor's programs, where you might have an additional few steps with regard to admission into that major. So those are like certain specifics with regard to admission to the major or changing your major. You can't just say, oh, I'm in human services, but I changed my mind, I wanted to go into nursing. Nursing's a dual admission program, so we can indicate that that's what you want to do and you're taking prerequisites towards it, but I can't just put you in nursing. So that's pretty much how the uh, onboarding process, we call, or the advisements and registration process works, and changing of the major if that's what you're interested in.
I know, like while we're on the point of like talking about like major specific requirements, this is like an open-ended question to all of our panelists. How do students know what major prerequisites to take? What resources are there to like help them know which classes, or if there's a specific course sequence that's recommended or required for them to progress and either like make even, well, like first off to like make sure that they fulfill all of their major prerequisites, and then also to make sure that they're taking all the classes they need for their majors.
Well, at City Tech, there, and we have this in CUNY in general, Degree Works. But before we even get to Degree Works, we have the advisors who let the students know. It's on our website. Our website is very comprehensive. Each major has an overview and admission requirements, and then the course. Either like a sample course schedule, or it breaks down what your first, depending on the major, what your first couple of semesters, if they're like block registrations or block sequence that you're supposed to take, you take this for your first semester or whatever, that's there on the website. And then the college catalog, all of that's also on the website. And then when you are a student, or once you are in the college, or if you have any credits that needed to be evaluated within for 24 to 72 hours max, there's DegreeWorks. And DegreeWorks is a system that CUNY has where, and I think other schools have it in different, maybe they call it something different, where it shows you what your major is and all of the requirements that is necessary to meet degree progress for this major. It shows your college requirements, the major requirements. It shows what it's currently in progress, like what you're taking at the moment, and it shows and which parts of the requirements that meets. And it also shows you what you would need to take next. And if you are transferring courses in, it'll show you which courses meet that degree, those for that particular degree, those requirements, and which might not, what we call fall through courses. So DegreeWorks is a very helpful resource for students, especially once they are in the college, to figure out, okay, this is what I'm taking, so this is what I need to take, this is what I've already finished. And then also with DegreeWorks, we have a feature called What If. So it's kind of like there's how many different situations where student says, man, what if I change my major and I don't want to do communication design anymore, I want to do emerging media. Some of those courses, you know, are shared, but some aren't. I might need to take more classes. How would that look? You can use that feature in DegreeWorks called What If, and it will show you, if you were to change your major, this is where all of those courses would, what we call plot, or where they would land with regard to the ones that count towards degree progress for that major, the ones that might not, and the ones you would need to take. So, and it's not changing your major. You can't change your major your way that way. It's just showing you, if you were thinking about changing your major, this is what that would look like. And it's, like I said, it's a really helpful resource for students, and we use it too when we're advising. we have that up. We have the college catalog up. We're like, college catalog, DegreeWorks, your transcript, all of this we're looking at. So if we're relying on it, students can rely on it. So it's a great resource to have.
Yeah, that seems like a very great resource. Thank you. Joyce, is there anything that you'd like to add on that point?
Well, since City Tech and CSI are both CUNY schools, we have very similar things like DegreeWorks, or if somebody decided to transfer out of CSI and go to John Jay, we have what's called pathways. All the most of the general requirements for a degree are universal throughout the CUNY. But, there is like a map of each major and what courses you need to take. Sometimes there are options. You could take one of these 3 classes or 2 of these 4 classes. Sometimes there's options. And sometimes students also could, the courses they take could even minor in a major, because for instance, for social work, you need a lot of psychology courses. So if you take a couple of extra psychology courses, you could have a minor in psychology. Computer science requires a lot of math. So if you take a couple of more math classes, you could have a minor in math as well. So the advisors also can help students. We have advisors embedded in each major. So once they're in their major, those advisors are really good at what students need to take, and kind of guide them in the right direction.
Yeah, it sounds like very useful. Thank you. For adding on to that, what about St. John's University? How do students know which classes to take, Anika?
So similar to the other universities, we also have DegreeWorks, who pretty much outline all the courses that students need to take. It is broken up based on, core requirements, electives, and then for some of our programs that allow for a minor, then you can kind of determine what track you're kind of going in within that major to help you navigate the appropriate courses to take. But prior to each semester, there is a advisement hold on your account. So you must meet with your academic advisor each semester prior to registration, just to ensure that you are being properly advised and taking the appropriate coursework. If there is a prerequisite put in place, of course, for example, you can't take bio second level course if you haven't taken Bio 101, for example. So there are a lot of courses that are sequential. So again, we just encourage students to make sure they meet with their academic advisor, just to make sure that you're on the right path to complete your degree program within an appropriate amount of time.
Great, thank you. And Alex, what about Binghamton? Do you also use DegreeWorks, or do you use a different platform?
I believe all our platforms are the same, they're probably just under a different name. So at Binghamton, it's called the Binghamton Bulletin, which is exactly what my colleagues mentioned. You would just find whatever major you are interested in or whatever you're part of, and they'll pretty much outline what your next 4 years could look like. And then you just choose classes based on that. My recommendation is that I wouldn't tackle this like registering for classes on your own, you should definitely meet with your academic advisor because they are there to help you graduate on time. And then they'll definitely walk you through different classes you can take, what's open, what's closed. Did you take Bio 1 before you can start taking Bio 2? So that's why the academic advisor is so useful, just because they'll keep tabs on you, making sure you're doing the right thing.
Great, thank you. I want to kind of shift gears a little. I know, Alex, earlier you mentioned housing, how Binghamton students typically actually apply for housing before they even begin registering for classes. And I know that that's a question that a lot of students will have, especially those that are going away to college. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about how that works at Binghamton, and then also give a chance to our other panelists, to talk about housing at your universities.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, now once you confirm your enrollment at Binghamton, you can begin to start filling a housing application, stating that you intend to live on Binghamton's campus. You'll fill out a profile, and then they'll try to match you with a person that would be, that you don't mind living with. Potentially, if you don't not coming with friends, but again, if you do have friends coming up with you at Binghamton, you just list each other, and there's a strong possibility that you'll start living together in your first year of college. Binghamton has more suite style residence halls than corridor style. So that's where it's kind of like a mini apartment. There are 2 or 3 rooms in the suite, and then there's probably 2 people in each suite. So the shared living spaces and the bathrooms are only shared with the people within your suite. And that's what most students choose. And yes, first year students can choose suites as well. We also have traditional corridor style as well, whereas one long hallway, there are many different rooms on the floor, 2, 3, or 4 people in each of the rooms, and you share the bathroom, the kitchen, the shared living spaces with everybody on your floor. Binghamton doesn't have any specific residence hall, which is dedicated only to first year students or to sophomores or juniors, so on and so forth. So it's a mixed bag. So in your suite, you could potentially be living with upperclassmen, or across the hall, you could be living with seniors. So yeah, I think that gives students a better opportunity to connect with other students on campus. And who knows, you might be meeting an upperclassman across the hall that's the same major as you. And then for whatever reason, if that senior has, the notes or the old exams that he took for Cycle 101, a lot of Binghamton students tend to pass those down to the next cohort of students.
It's very nice. That's very cool. I mean, I know a lot of universities require freshmen to dorm if they are, living like colleges that students typically go away to. Is that true for Binghamton, or is that optional for students?
So with Binghamton, you are required to live on campus your first year, and then beyond that, you can go wherever you want. I'll be candid with you. Usually the first year at Binghamton is not expensive because we do require to live on campus, and it definitely gets cheaper once you live off campus. I'm looking through your panel questions. Another question we get common from students is, can we have a car on campus your first year? Unfortunately, you cannot for your first year, but starting second year, you can. There are ways around that. So again, if you have friends or upperclassmen and they don't drive, you can ask them for a parking pass. Just don't let anyone know I told you the secrets.
Thank you. Your secrets are safe with us. That's very useful information. Thank you. Joyce, I know CSI also does have housing. How does that work specifically for freshmen?
Yeah, so CSI has luxury student apartments, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom apartments with full kitchens and baths. It's a limited amount of space, only 225 beds, so it's first come, first served basis. You can have a car and live on campus as a freshman. You do have to pay for a parking decal, though. I feel, though, that the classes right now are going to mostly be online. So in my opinion, to pay to live on campus is quite pricey. And you're not going to get the full feel of living on campus because the cafeteria is not going to be fully open where you could eat in the cafeteria. So that's something they should think about before applying for our housing. It's a $400 non-refundable deposit. And it also is not covered by grants. Most students would have to take out a loan to live on campus unless they have some other financial aid.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, that's a great point. That is true. I know Chastity, I believe City Tech is a commuter college. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're correct. We are definitely a commuter college, but because we're CUNY, you can dorm with other CUNY colleges. So we call them our sister colleges. So you can dorm with CSI, you can dorm with some of the other CUNYs that do have dorms. I mean, some of the advantages to that is because we have associate and bachelor's programs. If you are considering going to maybe CSI later to get a master's degree or going into a PhD program, if you're already on campus, you're already kind of home. You already kind of know what's going on, who to speak with. You're meeting some of those other students there. So it's a great way to kind of network amongst the CUNYs if you're going to dorm with one of the other schools while attending another. So, but that's true not just of City Tech, that's true for any of the CUNYs. So even if you are a CUNY student at one of the commuter colleges, if you would like to dorm with CUNY, you can dorm with one of the other CUNY schools. They usually just have like a deadline for their own students to kind of have preference, of course, because they are students at that campus. So they kind of get, a deadline for preference. But then after that, you can dorm with them if you prefer. And some students, honestly, there's like a two kind of track idea. One, dorms really make parents feel comfortable because they feel like, okay, there's some kind of a structure there. There's some kind of guidance and potentially discipline, because parents are like, okay, I want to make sure they're safe. I want to make sure somebody's watching out for them. So dorms do give them that. But there's also the option of finding a roommate and finding an apartment, which depending on the situation can come out to be cheaper. So there's always the option of one, getting an apartment because we are in the city. We're in Brooklyn and some very metro area, or you can go ahead and dorm with one of the sister colleges. That's definitely an option.
Yeah, thank you. That's very convenient, very interesting
Mhm.
to know. What about St. John's University? I know there's a Staten Island campus and a Queens campus. How does dorming work at both?
So Staten Island, this is going to be our first year that we no longer offer housing. We had a small percentage of students on our Staten Island campus actually residing on campus. So we kind of transitioned to more of a commuter school. We will still have some international students that are kind of be going towards a apartment style living situation off campus, whereas our Queens campus, around 60% of all of our first year freshmen actually live on campus. Housing is guaranteed for our first year students. It is a suite style, non-communal style living. So students are not going to be required to leave out of their apartment or suite to utilize the restroom or take a shower. In addition to that, our first year students are allowed to have cars on campus. So a lot of our students do take advantage of the opportunity, but I always tell students it's not a must. Again, we're in a metro area, so taking public transportation is definitely feasible.
Joyce, you talked about it, and also Alex, you mentioned like parking decals. How does that work? How do students get access to those?
So at St. John's, in terms of parking decals, both our commuter students as well as resident students have the option to go into their portal and actually register for a parking decal. It is per vehicle. So one vehicle is allowed to be registered. You can either go for a hang tag, which you would put on your rear view mirror, or you can just go for a decal sticker that you would put inside your vehicle. For commuters, that cost is $150 for the calendar year. So if you're going to be beginning classes in September, you would have it for that entire calendar year. For our resident students, for their first year, that price, I believe, is $500. Don't quote me. It is a little bit more expensive because we're really not encouraging our first year students to live on campus with a vehicle, but if they choose to do so, we do afford them that option. But it is extremely accessible to register from your student portal.
I kind of want to shift gears again a little bit and talk more about like actual campus life and extracurricular activities that are available to students. I know that these answers will vary, especially like I know Joyce mentioned and Chastity mentioned that's CUNY for the most part is still virtual, but what alternatives are like how can students still sort of access those campus activities and extracurricular activities that are available?
Yeah, so we have over 50 clubs on campus, and we have tutoring available. The gym will still be closed as far as I know, that they can't go and work out or use the pool. The clubs are every Tuesday and every Thursday afternoon for 2 hours. There are no classes scheduled for the purpose of students joining a club. As of now, the clubs are still virtual. I don't know if any of the clubs are going to go back to in person this fall. There might be a few. It depends, I guess, if they can socially distance or where they're meeting, if they're outside or not. Um, I feel like the reopening plan meeting that I went to is still up in the air. They're still undecisive of exactly what's happening. I feel like we're not going to know until a few days before classes start, if they're going to make full changes, especially that things are changing now. They're reopening restaurants in different areas. So they might actually, have some of the clubs on campus. But, there's plenty of services for students and resources for their student life. I think, I'm not even sure if the library is going to be open for them to study this fall either. So, right now, a lot of it is really going to be, they're going to be doing things from home and finding spaces, I guess. The St. George campus, you can make an appointment. They do have study area there for students on that campus because it's a smaller campus. But right now, like I said, most of the studies that students will be virtual online. Um, it might not be ideal for freshmen because they want to have the feel of being on campus. I have a cousin that her daughter is going somewhere in Connecticut and paying a real lot of money for college, and she's basically in her dorm room. Pick up the food from the cafeteria, go back and eat it in her room, and all her classes are online except for one lab class. And they're spending a lot of money for her to go there. And to me, you might as well just be in your home, your regular home, in your bedroom, instead of having a living on campus and pay all that money. But that's just my opinion. I think most schools are still pretty much virtual.
Yeah, it's very true. But like, how are students able to like find out what clubs are available, what clubs
Well,
are
that would be
there that are on
through
campus?
Student Life. It's through our Student Life organization. So I'm sure at new student orientation, they will give them a list of all the clubs. That's what they do. And, students can start up their own club too. If they have 6 people interested and they go to Student Life, they can start up their own club and they will give them a place to meet and money to start up their club. So it depends on student interest. Some clubs they don't reopen them because there's no interest. A few years ago, we had a gospel choir because there was a big interest in it. And then one of the students that made that club, he graduated and nobody else wanted to take over, so it dismantled. So it really depends. There's many clubs. It could be clubs related to your major. It could be clubs related to fun, a religious type. There's clubs for sports. There's just so many different clubs that students can join. There's a gaming club for students that like to play video games. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's hard for me to list them all. I can't remember them all, but there's many things for students to do. And besides tutoring, if you need tutoring.
Good, of course, thank you for that. What about at City Tech Chastity? How is student life sort of right now?
Well, kind of like what Joyce mentioned, it's virtual right now, but again, we do have over 50 clubs as well, and all the clubs and student government. Student government is still going on. I know, I'm the chair of that whole thing where you've got to certify the votes and all that stuff. So we did that. We have student government still going on. It's a little tricky because we had to kind of waive the collection of signatures because how are they going to collect the signature, right? So
Right.
we're coming around different ways of getting what we need to get done. So for students, yes, some of the clubs might be a little more difficult to meet because we had step clubs where they were doing all these great moves, and this is very physical. So it's not like they could really meet to do this. So they kind of transfer it to doing it like online. It's like and some of the physical fitness courses like the Zumba classes that moved to being online. So a lot of these things transitioned to some online version of what they are. And interestingly enough, some transitioned well. Like we do have a club for people interested in gaming. So since they were using a screen anyway, now they're just sharing each other's screens and looking at screens. And of course, again, you can create your own club. I'm still pushing for the pizza club. Haven't got it yet, but maybe one day I'll be a club advisor and I could kind of push for, hey guys, pizza club, movie club. Let's have a pizza and a movie club, and then we guys collaborate with pizza and movie night. Haha. I've got plans if anyone will listen. But but yes, I'm like, come on guys, I can make this work for us. But there's certain clubs that are actually evolving because of our current situation. We have new clubs that are based on things that we hadn't really even thought about before. So we have communication clubs now, and they're talking about like the different kind of communication services and reaching out and doing all these other different things. So that's really kind of cool. And how they figure out this whole thing, well, of course, one, there's always the website, which is why you've got to do your best to keep the websites up and comprehensive, and all the information relevant and up to date. It's a lot of work, but you really got to, because these days the students, if they can't get a person on the phone fast enough, what they're going to fall back on? Information is readily available, and that's going to be the website. But it's in the orientation where we have a student life kind of aspect to the orientation, and orientation is sent to them from student life, so that there's that aspect of it. And it says, hey, we have this many clubs, we have student government, this is how you get involved, this is how to look for stuff, this is how to create things. So all of those things are something that it's kind of presented to them in brief format. And then if they're like, I think I'm going to contact student life and figure out, how do I get involved in student government? How do I create a club? I heard Chastity Norman talk about a pizza club. I would like to open this pizza club. Something like that could work. So that's how that's what they're doing now. So when we return to campus, honestly, when we are looking at the return right now, we're looking at the hybrid return. It's more, the focus is on, as Joyce was mentioning before, labs, any kind of
Right.
coursework that requires labs. So when we're looking at extracurricular activities, and recruitment even activities, that sadly, honestly, is one of the things that they are kind of not, I don't want to say not prioritizing, but it's not one of the high priorities. They're thinking more along the lines of, okay, we need to figure out this whole educational model, the curriculum, how what platforms students are using, and things like that. And then it's more, okay, once we've got this nailed down, let's figure out those other aspects. And that's kind of where the extracurricular activities and clubs are now. They're kind of like, once we've got this nailed down, let's look at this. So they're not the biggest priority at the moment. So for the fall, they're going to continue to be online. But for the spring, we're looking to be able to start bringing that back slowly. We're looking at hoping for spring to be at least 60% back for City Tech anyhow. And actually our plan is to never really be like, again, probably more like 80% once we're even at full capacity, because that other 20% is going to be that whole virtual aspect that we've decided
Yeah,
to
right.
keep. So right now, for the extracurriculars for the fall, it's pretty much going to be still online. But we are working towards that transition. And once we kind of get more information from the governor, and we get more ideas about vaccination and how, the safety, distancing, and all of that, then the priority would be uh, for more social, atmosphere and socializing.
Yeah.
That would be more for spring. For fall, it's more like, how do we work out this whole educational thing? For spring, it's more like, okay, how do we get everybody back to the campus in a way that's safe, and then we can start socializing and doing those other things again. So fall, virtual, spring, we'll get there.
Makes sense. Thank you
Yeah.
for that very comprehensive explanation. Very interesting. I am holding out for you hope for that pizza and movie club.
Thank you. Come on, people. I'll update you for fall. Let's see what happens.
Can't wait to hear it. Anika, what about St. John's? How does campus life? How's that working as of now?
So at St. John's, we've actually been allowing our visitors on campus since around September of 2020 with a one-on-one type of atmosphere and protocol. So we are pretty much returning back to about as much of a new normal as possible. We sent out tons of surveys, campus climates, and things of that nature, and our students want to be back on campus in person. They want that New York City feel. Unlike probably some of my colleagues, we do get a lot of students that are not from the tri-state area. So our students from California, our students from the DMV area, Texas, and international students, they want that in-person feel. So in terms of clubs and organizations, they're all going to be up and running for the fall semester. I know, for example, last fall we had like a paint tip, but like plexiglass. So we still were able to utilize our large Great Lawn on our Queens campus to still facilitate some of those program and events that our students are, putting together and programming. So of course, this fall, we're probably gonna, see a little bit more of a new normal. So we may not see as much plexiglass or mask present, simply because our students are going to be mandated to have that COVID-19 vaccine. So yeah, I'm looking forward to our fall looking as normal can be as of right now. So yeah, clubs and organizations will be running on our Staten Island campus. We do have a very large Greek life presence. So I know that our commuter students on the Staten Island campus that are interested in Greek life are definitely looking towards going back to that new normal. We are a Division I athletic team. So of course, a lot of our students are also interested in going back to Madison Square Garden and see our men's basketball team play at the Garden and really just get that that true first year freshman experience. So we're trying everything in our power to not necessarily rob students from that experience and allow them to enjoy New York City. So we're gonna keep our fingers crossed and hope that all goes well moving forward.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. And definitely hoping that things go well and progress like that. That'll be very cool. I know for sure, like one of my staple college experiences was going to games, like college games, like our basketball games, our football games. Very exciting. It was a really great way to just even meet new people, even as a freshman especially. So hopefully we can get to that new normal sooner rather than later. And Alex, what about Binghamton? How will campus life be in the fall? How is it looking so far for the spring?
So campus was actually open this past fall. So we did adopt a hybrid model for learning. Since campus was open, we tried to have some level of normalcy. So clubs were meeting, the facilities were open, the gyms were open. But as you imagine, because the vaccine wasn't out at the time, the capacity is very different. But we tried to give some sort of campus experience to our students while they were there. In the fall, we plan to be fully reopened. So there will no longer be an option for remote learning, at least not that I'm aware of. So everybody will be moving back in. Classes should be at full capacity, and I imagine all the clubs and organizations will be meeting at full strength too. So we're very excited about that. Just because for the past year and a half, it's been pretty quiet up on campus, but hopefully things will change for this fall and for next year too.
Yeah, very cool. Here's hoping. I know we're almost out of time, but I do want to really quick give each of you panelists a chance to sort of share what health and wellness resources are available to students. Like I know Joyce, you mentioned earlier tutoring, but also in terms of mental health and counseling, how is and as well in addition to tutoring, how is that working at SUNY Binghamton? And or whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, I'll go first. So we are a residential campus. So we have one main campus up at Binghamton, where good majority of our academic buildings are. And we also have Decker Health Services. SUNY being a public institution, we are requiring vaccinations per the governor's order once FDA approves both vaccines. So that's going to happen. Whenever you're sick, when you're not feeling well, definitely go check out the Decker Health Services because there's some doctors available there to treat you. If you are feeling a little homesick, since we are away from New York City, we're professional counseling staff there to meet with you, whether you're homesick, insomnia, anxiety, or anything like that. You need to talk to someone. There's always someone there available to speak to you.
Great, yeah, thank you. I know that's something that a lot of students out there and as well as parents are concerned about and would like to know more information on. Now, Joyce, what about CSI? How is that working, tutoring in?
So I know we have the counseling services, and we also have a health center. The staff is not in yet, but this August 2nd, their staff will be back on campus. So any students living on campus or students that want to make an appointment to meet with, mental health counseling or counselor, or it's confidential, it's free. We also have our health center where if students need the vaccine, or if students need to talk to a nurse practitioner, or to get health insurance, we have someone that can help them get health insurance.
Well, at City Tech, we have a student counseling. We have a counseling office. It's available to everyone. Mostly it's for students, but even staff can contact them if they have issues or if they need help, if they just want to talk to someone. And right now, it's, since we are, like I said, a commuter college, most of the time they would normally deal with students who might have a lot of just stress from different things, because the type of campus that we are very mixed. With over 17,000 students, we have the largest undergraduate population for the CUNY schools, and we have a lot of international students. We have a lot of people who are parents who have kids who, this is college, they're coming in for the first time. So there's a lot of different kinds of stressors, anxieties that might be happening depending on what their circumstances are. So the counseling office is there for that. The counseling office also helps them with some of their academic issues, maybe if they are not doing well in courses and they might be on academic probation. They actually help them through that process to stay on track, and so they can get off probation and do better. If they've been academically dismissed, they help them get back in, counseling, because there's different aspects to that. There's the academic, and then there's the emotional and mental. So the counseling office does a lot. They're still working. They're working virtually. They answer phone calls. They do Zoom. It goes send emails, and they're gonna be one of the first campuses, or one of the first offices to return to campus in a limited capacity. We're actually gonna start that next month, kind of like an emergency hub, or like a one-stop shop, where everyone is essentially going to be taking from key enrollment areas like counseling, admissions, financial aid, advisement. Everyone's going to take their turn being on campus for. When I say everyone, I mean like everybody in each office. Like, you go for a week, you go for a week, you go for a week. So we're all going to be there on campus, and counseling is going to be there as well. And then we also have our wellness center, and we don't call it like health. It used to be health and wellness, but now we just call it wellness, because they cover health, they cover, immunizations. There's a nurse, and then that nurses, we have even, I think there's even a doctor that comes, not very often though, he's only there like once a month, but we do have a nurse that's on campus, and she will be there for that. Or we'll have a rotating nurse for when we have that one-stop shop coming up in this summer, and then helping us transition back to the fall. And they're there to help with immunizations. We're seeing if we can get the vaccine, so that, maybe students and even some of their staff will feel more comfortable if some of their colleagues or people, faces that they recognize, are there, and they can get information from them. So like Joyce mentioned before, we can't force staff and faculty to get it, because it's not really fully approved yet. But for those students who want to continue with in-person learning, they have to get it. This is from the governor for CUNY anyway. So we're trying to see if we can get that vaccine, so that if the students are going to get it, they can get it from us, and they can feel more comfortable. Okay, I know this person, or I've seen this person, or this person is a member of my school community, and they just feel more comfortable that way and have more direct contact and information. And they also, with regard to wellness, we also teach nutrition, and have people available to give massages during during midterms and finals. And we have wellness fairs and all this other kind of things, sex education. It's like, that's why we call it wellness, because it's overall yoga, the whole thing. So those things we've had versions of it online, but now beginning next month, we're going to start having some limited capacity of that in person as well. So that's what we have as far as supports with regard to health and wellness for students.
So I guess similarly to my other colleagues here, we do have a Office of Disability and Counseling Services on our campuses. In addition to that, we do have a health office, so where we have a physician as well as a nurse practitioner that is there to staff that location. We are administering the COVID-19, I believe it's the Moderna vaccination on campus. So our staff, faculty, as well as incoming and returning students have that accessible to them. Similar to, I believe Chastity mentioned, we do offer counseling services virtually, but we also have a hotline that is confidential. So I always tell students, you don't necessarily have to go sit on someone's comfy couch to kind of have a conversation and be counseled. There is a hotline that you can call. You can also meet with the one-on-one appointment via Zoom. For some of our incoming students that may receive accommodations at their high school level and they may have a IEP, we do make accommodations with the 503B at our institution. So we do recommend students to reach out to our Office of Counseling and Disability Services if any additional accommodations are needed, such as extended test time and things of that nature. But overall, we have a variety of different health and wellness services that are available to students. A lot of them are housed forward-facing on our platform online, but at the same time, students can actually go into these offices because we are on campus and kind of make sure their needs are being met.
That's great. Thank you all so much. I know we're just about out of time, but I wanted to thank all of our panelists, Joyce, Chastity, Anika, and Alex, for taking the time and sharing such important and relevant information. I know we talked about a lot, so I appreciate you all taking the time to join me on this panel. Thank you to our audience for joining us as well. I hope our audience will join us for part 2 of this 2-part college panel series tomorrow, also at 5 p.m., where we will be speaking with some current college students and recent graduates on their insights and experiences with college life and their tips for incoming freshmen. But again, thank you to all of our panelists and thank you to our audience, and I hope you all have a good night.